You type a message, read it, delete half of it, rewrite it, read it again, this time out loud, in your head, in their voice. You add an emoji, then remove it. You wonder if the period at the end makes it sound angry. You hover over the send button like it's some kind of detonator. And then, maybe, you send it. Or maybe you lock your phone and walk away entirely. If that sounds like a regular Tuesday for you, this video is going to feel like a mirror. Most people have told you you're overthinking it, that it's just a text, that nobody reads that deeply into things. And maybe you've started believing them. Maybe you've started calling yourself anxious, or weird, or too much. But psychology tells a very different story. You're not broken. You're not fragile. You have a brain that was built to process communication at a level most people don't even access. The first thing to understand is that your brain is doing something most people's brains skip entirely. It's called self-monitoring, a concept psychologist Mark Snyder introduced back in the 1970s. High self-monitors naturally adjust how they present themselves based on social context. They read the room before they speak. They consider tone, timing, and impact, not because they're fake, but because they're tuned in. Now bring that into texting. When you rewrite a message 3 times, you're not spiraling. You're running it through an internal filter that checks for tone, clarity, emotional accuracy, and the receiver's likely response. Think of it like having a built-in editor, one that reads every draft before anyone else sees the first. Most people hit send the way they toss a paper airplane. You're the person who checks the wind direction first. And here's what matters. Research shows that high self-monitors tend to be more socially adaptable, more perceptive in group dynamics, and more effective communicators in the long run. So no, you're not insecure. You're not second-guessing yourself out of weakness. You're socially precise. You care about the weight of your words, and in a world full of careless replies, that's not a flaw, that's a skill. Here's what the research actually shows about people who weigh every word. Psychologist Elaine Aron spent decades studying what she called sensory processing sensitivity, a trait found in roughly 15 to 20% of the population. People with this trait don't just feel more, they process more. Their brains are wired to pick up subtleties that others miss, changes in tone, micro shifts in mood, the difference between okay and okay. And that deeper processing? It doesn't turn off when you open a messaging app. It's like the difference between a standard camera and one that shoots in high definition. You're capturing more information from every interaction, which means your brain needs more time to sort through it all. That pause before sending, that rewrite, that's not hesitation. That's your brain doing its job thoroughly. The trouble is, most of the world runs on quick replies and instant reactions. So when you take longer, people assume you don't care or that something is wrong, but the opposite is true. You take longer because you care more. You rewrite because you want your words to land the way you actually mean them. You're not slow. You're not overthinking for the sake of it. You're processing deeply, and that depth is something most people wish they had access to. Then there's another layer most people never consider. What's actually happening in your working memory when you compose a single text? Cognitive load theory, developed by educational psychologist John Sweller, explains that our working memory has limited space. And when you're crafting a message, you're not just choosing words. You're simultaneously managing tone, predicting their reaction, referencing past conversations, factoring in the relationship dynamic, and trying to say something honest without it being misread. That's not one task. That's 5. It's like running 5 browser tabs in your head for a single message, and your brain is trying to keep every one of them from crashing. Compare that to someone who just types, "LOL sounds good," and moves on. They're not more relaxed than you. They're just running fewer tabs. Their processing style is different, not better. What you're doing takes real cognitive effort. And the mental fatigue you feel after a long texting conversation, that's not weakness. That's the natural result of a brain that refuses to cut corners. You're not making things complicated. Your brain is solving a genuinely complex equation every time you communicate, balancing honesty with kindness, clarity with warmth, brevity with depth. That's not a burden. That's a form of intelligence most people don't even know exists. But here's the twist. It's not just about you. A huge part of why you overthink texts is because you're constantly simulating the other person's experience. In psychology, this is called theory of mind, the ability to imagine what someone else is thinking or feeling. And for some people, this ability runs on overdrive. When you read your own message before sending it, you're not just reading it as yourself, you're reading it as them. You're imagining their face, their mood, their day. You're asking, will this sound cold? Could this be taken the wrong way? What if they're already upset and this makes it worse? That's not paranoia, that's empathy, working in real time. It's like writing a letter while simultaneously standing over someone's shoulder, watching them read it. Your brain is toggling between author and audience, and it does this automatically, without you even asking it to. People who do this tend to be deeply caring communicators. They're the ones who notice when something feels off in a conversation. They're the ones friends turn to when they need someone who truly listens. So if you've ever been told you read too much into things, consider this. Maybe you're reading exactly the right amount. You're not paranoid, you're perceptive, and the world needs more of that. And there's a reason your brain always assumes the worst version of how your text will land. It's called the negativity bias. Our brain's built-in tendency to give more weight to negative outcomes than positive ones. It's a survival mechanism, hardwired over thousands of years. But in digital communication, it gets amplified. Researcher Joseph Walter described what he called the hyper-personal model of communication. The idea that text-based interaction strips away all the nonverbal cues we normally rely on. No facial expressions, no vocal tone, no body language, just words on a screen. So your brain fills in the blanks, and because of the negativity bias, it usually fills them in with worst-case scenarios. That's why okay from someone you care about can feel like a door closing. That's why a missing exclamation mark can spiral into, they're mad at me. You're not making things up. You're responding to a real limitation of the medium. Texting removes about 90% of emotional context, and your brain, your beautifully sensitive, deeply processing brain, is trying to compensate for all of it. You're not catastrophizing. You're doing the emotional math that the medium itself refuses to show. And honestly, the fact that you even notice these gaps puts you ahead of most people in terms of emotional awareness. That brings us to something deeper. And honestly, something kind of beautiful. Psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan developed self-determination theory, which identifies 3 core human needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. But underneath all of those sits something quieter: the need to be authentic, to be known for who you actually are. And when you rewrite a text over and over, you're not obsessing, you're sculpting. You're chipping away at words that don't quite fit, looking for the ones that do, the ones that carry your actual meaning, your real tone, your true intention. It's like a sculptor working marble, not because the stone is flawed, but because the shape inside it matters. In a world that rewards speed, fast replies, instant reactions, surface-level connections, you're choosing accuracy over efficiency. You're choosing depth over convenience. And that costs energy. It costs time. Sometimes it costs you the appearance of being chill or easygoing, but what it gives you is something most people never achieve in digital communication: honesty. Real, careful, intentional honesty. You're not obsessing over a text. You're trying to be real in a world that makes it very easy to be anything but. And that matters more than most people realize. So the next time you catch yourself rewriting a text for the 4th time, I want you to remember something. That pause isn't a problem. That rewrite isn't a flaw. That care you put into your words, it's one of the most human things about you. You're not too much. You were just built to mean what you say. If this helped you see yourself a little more clearly, leave a like. And if you want more videos about the psychology of people like us, subscribe.